What's going on, casters? You've got a sick Dylan from Pandito Gaming here today. My kids got me sick the last couple days. It's the first week of school, but I got to keep grinding, making videos because right now, obviously this isn't the past for you guys. You know whether we hit the goal or not, but right now, we are on track, just a few members away or subscribers away from being able to hit our 50 subscriber goal. And I'm about to go on a 2 week vacation. To go hiking, and I want to make sure that you guys have the content while I'm not here, so show's got to go on, right? So today's video is going to be digging in and doing research on how much packs cost in various forms. So what is the best price per pack when it comes to mainline sets right now in Divine Champions? I mentioned in my Sunstrike video that I felt very confident that starter decks were the cheapest price per pack for me. And I wanted to actually go through, do the math, and help you guys decide what is the best pack price for you. What product should you be targeting if your goal is just opening as many packs as you have the capability to? So let's go ahead and dive into it, right? Now, a key caveat here is that I am assuming that either you care about or you are willing to sell the extra auxiliary stuff that you get in these boxes, right? So when you buy the different products, I'm assuming that you're either going to sell the things you don't want or you value them in some way. So for the booster box, obviously you get packs plus a box topper. So either you are going to get the box topper anyways and you're saving money from having to go and buy it, or you're going to onto the marketplace and you're going to sell it and get the market value of it. Same thing with the starter decks. Obviously those are a lot more effort because they come with a lot more things. The double blister packs, I'm assuming you're either using or selling the stellar spirits that come in those. Now, as of today of recording it, which is the 13th of August, we do not have any data on what is in the specific starter decks. So during this video, I'm going to be comparing specifically against Sunstrike because we do have data for how well those things sold. We know the values of the things inside roughly. Now, do we know for a fact that the Luminape and the Zaptor are going to sell at the same prices that we get the Flurmine and the Aloon for? That's remains to be seen. Are there as many playable cards in the starter decks? I think on average, even there's always a deck that sells better and a deck that sells worse. We don't know what those will be. So potentially you could set pick and choose a starter deck specifically because you think it'll sell better than the other ones. But I'm just going to take the average from what we have from Sunstrike, and that should be roughly okay. I don't think Snowshade is going to be dramatically worse. I more than likely one of these decks will just have better runes than the other ones. That just always happens. It's just how it normally goes. But now let's go through the numbers for everything. We're going to start with the fact that there are some assumed numbers up here. So first of all, depending on what price you're buying in at, this could significantly affect how much your booster packs cost. Obviously, I'm starting with MSRP. I'll go through a couple different variants here, just of like MAPP prices and the lowest prices that you can get potentially from a distro. I'll give you what I paid for Sunstrike just to show you my math behind it. The other number here that is assumed are the print runs. We definitely have a rough idea. We know there's definitely less than 25,000 booster boxes because they've talked about many times that was way too many. We know it's greater than 10,000 because that was the Kickstarter run. I'm kind of going under the assumption that we're somewhere between 12 and 18,000. So I'm just generally filling roughly 15,000 in here. Now, these really only matter in the long run if you think they're going to print so much that the market gets flooded, or very specifically the stellar rates for serialized stellars in both starter decks and in booster boxes. Now, I don't think these make up enough of a percentage of the expected value for this to make a huge difference most of the time, but there are times where it could potentially flex your decision point on that. But let's dig in to each of these and show you how I got the numbers for these. So first of all, for booster boxes, like I mentioned, there are only box toppers as additional pieces to the packs, which is good. A lot of games don't even have box toppers, so the fact that we have them here and there's some value has a positive impact on the EV of your packs. So generally speaking, going through the ones that came out for Sunstrike, we have Vesuvatuga here. It's selling at a rough average of around $5 or $6 each. I think the big caveat here is that only 14 have sold in 3 months. That is a very bad sell-through rate. It shows that these aren't selling very often. Now, how many people are going to be out there where they can even pull more than 10 Vesuvatugas? Let's say you said you wanted to open up a full case. Your average pull rate there, obviously there's variance. You'll have around 4. With variance, maybe you'll pull 6. But considering that 14 sold on here, I'm sure you could probably get four-ish dollars for these. Off of TCG Player, I think that's completely reasonable. Celestlio is one that actually hasn't sold at all. Now, part of the thing to keep in mind here is that all the prices for this one are significantly higher. I don't know if just less people have pulled these or if people are just less interested in it. I'm honestly not sure. This feels like a card that should have been selling, and it just hasn't. The Imperial box topper, again, this one has actually sold 22 copies, but I think a big reason for that is because it was posted at $1 or $2 for a while. Now, we had somebody crazy buying this for $20, but more recently it's been around 4. I think $3 or $4 is a reasonable amount here. And then for Stratamoth, this is one that has sold 23 copies, which is pretty decent. Again, this had a lot of that was because $2, $1, $2. I think if you're trying to get rid of these quickly, you would need to sell them for $1 to $3. I think if you were willing to sit on them for a bit, you should be able to get $5 off of these pretty consistently, which is why I put $5 on here. This could flex lower, but keep in mind, there's 24 packs in a booster box. $5 is only worth roughly 20 cents per pack. So it's not a huge flexing value. We can use it potentially as a tiebreaker or something that this wouldn't sell very well. The Stellar box toppers, there are 4 box toppers, 25 of each. That means there's 100 of them. That gives us roughly, if there's 15,000 booster boxes, a 2/3% chance that you'll be able to hit one. I roughly put $700 of value in here. You could be picky and say this should be closer to 600 or 650. If you're trying to flip this quickly, maybe it's only 500 or 550. Whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. Ultimately, the extra EV that you're getting per pack when it comes to the box topper per booster box is roughly 40 cents per pack. And that's something, right? Like, we'll get into it more, but it's something, but it's not a lot, especially as you look in these other options. So blister packs, for Sunstrike, those came with a Zaptor and a Luminape. As you can see from these sales charts, we're looking at roughly 9 of the Luminapes have sold. 50 of the Zaptors have sold. Those came in big bunches, and these prices are very consistently around $3. Now, a bunch of these are listed. You see almost 30 copies of the Zaptor, and probably 100 copies ish of the Luminape, but everybody is keeping their price pretty consistently around that $3 mark. I think people agree that this is probably a $2 or $3 card. It's just there's not a huge demand for them. Now, the biggest difference between the box toppers for the booster boxes and the promo card for the blister packs is that each of these promo cards are every 2 packs, and each of the booster boxes are every 24 packs. So even if you split these evenly, you would have to get 12 of these spirits sold compared to only 1 of the booster box promos sold. And the EV per pack is dramatically more for these because of the fact that it's $3 for 2 packs. So if you're not able to sell these spirits, this is actually a big deal towards your price per pack. Because of that, you would never want to buy, let's say, 100 blister packs. Because not even 100 of those spirits have been sold for Sunstrike in 3 months. If you're trying to pick up like 400 packs or 500 packs, there's absolutely no way you should consider blister packs because, as you'll see later, without the savings from the promo, they are not good values for price per packs. I think they're great to pick up in slower volumes or in smaller volumes, especially if you're planning on keeping the spirits. But if you're just opening to open packs, I don't think this is a good option because it's almost impossible to sell a bulk amount of promos. Um, Now, for starter decks, this one's really tough because the expected value of the normal cards in the starter deck is really hard to grasp. And you'll notice that I just took what I think is a reasonable value for each of the cards in all four of the decks and just divided that by two because you get two decks per deck box. This could be really arguable if you wanted to make a case against it. Now, if you go on to Shop Elestrals, you can actually go and see the set lists. So looking through each of these, the Hera Aeolus was definitely the worst of the two values. Aeolus especially, I feel like outside of Gorgon's Gaze, Poison Tipped Arrow, probably the Tsunamis are easily or relatively easy to sell. The Stratomoth itself you could probably get $1 for pretty easily, but a lot of these cards in here aren't going to sell very much at all. You might sell like 5 copies or 6 copies, but especially if you are buying to get, a case, you're going to have 10 different starter decks of each of these. You're going to end up with 10 to 20 copies of every card in here. And for things like Gorgon's Gaze and Poison Tip Arrow, those are easy to sell and they'll sell very consistently. But some of the other ones you'll just never ever sell. Now, looking at the Ares and Hephaestus, it's there's a lot more value here, especially in Ares having 2 Pandora's boxes. That by itself is just $3 baked in today's prices, at least. So I think it's really important that you kind of look through the decks and understand like what you're actually going to be able to sell versus not. A lot of these cards you would literally never sell a single copy of just because there's already so many copies out there or they're not playable. Like you're not going to get collectors looking to buy bulk amounts of these cards. The choosing to buy into starter decks is choosing to sell in the long term, which is what I'm doing. That's something I believe in and want to do, but not everybody's going to be into it. So if you're just a casual collector, this $9 is probably not realistic. You're probably looking more at like $3 or $4 worth of easy to get value out of these cards. Now, as far as reverse stellars, I think we don't know the official pull rates for these, but I've talked to quite a few people, and I think that, in general, you're going to pull one reverse stellar for every 50 boxes that you open. Actually, I think this number is off because of that. So every 100 starter decks that you're opening, I think you'll probably open one reverse stellar, at least from Sunstrike. I know that is a dramatically worse rate than it was when we're talking about Firestorm. And so I wonder if that was intentional or not. This number might go up for Snowshade. I also think because there hasn't been a lot of time for feedback since Sunstrike, I don't know if that number is going to change. But, I think the reverse seller rate is roughly for every 50 starter decks that you open, you'll probably get one reverse stellar. It may be a little bit more, it may be a little bit less. As far as serialized cards, this one's pretty straightforward. The rate here is there are 2 decks in each box. So for each box, you have the potential of opening one of 198 different serialized stellars. So we're looking at a little bit over a 1% rate for pulling a serialized X out of 99. I just arbitrarily put 250 in here. I think you could easily get 300 for these, especially if selling near release. But it just kind of depends on the card and when you're trying to sell it. So as you can see, there's definitely a lot more EV per pack in the starter decks. But how does that actually translate to final cost is something else that we have to look into, right? So now we'll actually go into what those numbers translate to when it comes to cost per pack. So looking at MSRP, which I'm going to do something on the fly here just because I'm realizing that I probably should have done this before, which is showing what the price per pack is without all the extra stuff. So taking this and dividing it by 24 is the price per pack. Taking this value and dividing by 2 tells us the price per pack on those, and taking this and dividing by 4 tells us the price per pack on this. And you can see without the value of the extra cards, it is very obvious that booster packs are the cheapest option. If you're not going to sell anything that you get, if you don't need any of the cards in the starter decks, or you're not going to play with the Stellar Spirits, you should be buying booster boxes as the cheapest source of packs. But because of the value that you get in the starter decks, this starter decks are just the best way to get packs. Now, especially if we're looking at cheaper prices here, this price per pack comes in significantly more importantly. So if we look at MAPP prices, which are much more like what you're going to see on the average website, you can see that we're looking at $99.99, $23.99, and $8.99. Now, not to say that you're definitely going to be able to find these prices just because that's what the listed price is, but many stores will sell at MAPP pricing or around MAPP pricing, especially on pre-order. So let's assume these are the prices that we're looking at here. So we look at $99.99. We said $8.99 and $23.99. That significantly changes the numbers on price per pack here, because starter decks is still absolutely horrid. The blister packs suddenly look a lot more appealing. But even with this, the starter decks are still ahead by quite a bit. The starter decks don't have as much of a reduction from the MAPP pricing compared to MSRP. The blister packs have a significant reduction compared to that. The booster boxes are not a significant amount, but slightly more. But especially if you are somebody who has online access. So if you have access through a distribution, either through Elestrals Wholesale or through another distributor, I'm just going to put some arbitrary numbers in here, but let's assume you can hit booster boxes for 75. Let's assume your blister packs are, we'll say 6. And for starter decks, you're talking about 18. If these are the numbers that you're looking at, these numbers show even more significantly that booster boxes are not the best price per pack. So if you are a store, if you are an LGS and you're looking to source singles, buying booster boxes, while it leads to the least amount of upkeep, you don't have to keep track of all of these individual singles. For what it's worth, with these deck staples, I think probably each deck was maybe 7 to 10 cards. So for each starter deck that you're opening, each starter deck double pack, you're probably selling somewhere between 14 and 20 extra cards. That's a lot of work. So I understand if somebody's not as interested in that, but if you do sell that, the price per pack is literally less than half compared to booster boxes. And blister packs, again, if you're talking about buying in bulk, I just don't think that's realistic. You're not going to be able to sell 500 copies of those spirits, but can you sell 100 copies of the starter deck staples or 50 copies of those to get the same number of packs? I think the answer to that is generally yes. Because of that, that's why I invest into starter decks. Now, I hadn't run these exact numbers yet, but as you can see, this is definitely something that is very directly telling that starter decks, especially the lower you're paying for each item that you're buying, if you have wholesale or if you're paying MAPP prices, you can definitely make a good amount of money just ripping the packs, because the packs are so insanely cheap. It becomes a very good profit statement to look at this and be able to sell this. Now, I've mentioned many times as a very strong caveat, you are not going to be able to sell thousands of copies of this stuff. So if you were to buy 1,000 starter decks, I don't think you're going to get the returns on that in any reasonable amount of time. Maybe if you sit on it for like 2 or 3 years. But I think ultimately, if you're looking to open 1,000 total packs, I don't think that's unreasonable to go through and open starter decks. Maybe you do a mixture of starter decks and booster boxes, but starter decks are a huge value on a price per pack basis. It's why I buy them. It's why I have been able to make money from opening packs from them. It's just a really good experience, and I hope they keep doing this. I think this is great for helping get LGSs and online game stores an opportunity to be able to turn a profit while also giving back to the community and being able to inject cards into the market that people want to buy, that oftentimes these starter decks would otherwise just not be opened for an extended period of time because there's not enough new players coming in to eat these up as fast as if, you know, a few stores open 1,000 or 2,000 of these starter decks and help get these cards circulating in the market. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I found this educational. I didn't have these exact numbers before, but now I do. I think it's really helpful to have this in context. What's your guys' plan for Snowshade? Are you planning on opening packs? If so, hopefully this convinces you to go into starter decks or think some more about different products, about how you could kind of mix and match to save yourself some money on this. If you like this kind of content, I do it all the time. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video if it was good for you. Otherwise, that's all I've got. I'm out.